didn't even make it to the regular season before I had to make one of these things. That's right. If you are new to the channel, if you've not seen this before, you don't know what this is, well, basically what we do after every time there's a controversy on the racetrack in NASCAR, we talk about it. I'll tell you about the incident itself, show some pictures, some small clips of what happened, tell you my thoughts on it, give both sides of the story, and then I will tell you what I think overall. Where do I stand? Who is in the right? Who is in the wrong? All that stuff. We are going to talk about that today. Of course, we're going to talk about the race last night, the Busch Clash, the first ever on the Daytona road course. Was a great race, had a thrilling finish, but it did involve some controversy when Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney made contact. Blaney went spinning into the wall, and Kyle Busch snuck by Chase Elliott for the race win. So we're going to talk about that incident in the last chicane today, and then as for the plan for the rest of the day, I may do something on the Daytona 500 qualifying. That is tonight, so look out for that. But yeah, that if you haven't seen my Busch Clash recap thingy, go look at that from yesterday. But we are going to look at the final half a lap or so, I guess, of the Busch Clash. We're not going to watch the whole clip by itself. We're going to look at some different parts of the lap and stuff, and just where it kind of turned out how it was, I guess. But the first thing I do want to look at is if you look at some of these pictures, just some of these screenshots, Ryan Blaney had a big gap after they went through the infield portion and they went onto the banking of NASCAR 1 and 2 onto the backstretch. Blaney had a pretty good gap on Chase Elliott. You can see here, really good gap. I don't know how else to say it. But then watch him go into the backstretch, the backstretch bus stop. Elliott really closes that gap. Blaney wobbles a little bit, and Elliott's able to close the gap, and then Blaney does not have a good backstretch bus stop, and Elliott's able to get right on his bumper. Blaney then begins to pull away just a bit as they go into 3 and 4, and not enough though. There are a couple car lengths, I think, in between them, and Blaney goes kind of protective mode and gives Elliott the inside because that last chicane, you go in it and you kind of go left, and there's a right-hander turn, but there's some big curves, but then the last turn is a left. So Blaney's setting himself up so that he'll have the preferred line, I guess, in the final part of the chicane, because in that first one, you have the curbs on the right side. That's the preferred line. But going out, the left side is the preferred line because, there's a wall on the other side. But basically, they go in there really hot. Blaney gives them the room, and Elliott sends it in there. Elliott then brakes really hard, does not turn the car into the curbs, hits his buddy. His buddy goes spinning. Kyle Busch wins. So what do I think? Or what are the two sides of the story, I should say? Obviously, if you're Chase Elliott, he said it multiple times, he's going for a win. Obviously, this is the Clash. This isn't like a points-paying race, so it really didn't mean much, even if you didn't win. If you didn't win, it meant nothing is what I should say. But he's going for the win. He was being aggressive. He went for the win. It's definitely not as bad as what happened at Bristol last year when he just took out himself in Logano. But, he made an aggressive move. Blaney gave him the room to make an aggressive move. And, Elliott kept on saying, I get paid to win. I get paid to be a race car driver, not to sit behind someone and wish later on that I had tried something. So I think that he definitely should have gone for it. Yeah, I agree on that. Don't just let him go away with the win. Don't let him walk into victory lane. But, people are trying to say that Blaney didn't give him enough room. Elliott had plenty of room. He didn't even hit the curb. Those curbs, those are the turtles that they call at the Charlotte Roval. If you hit those things, your car's gonna feel it. You're gonna be impacted by it for sure. So I think by the time Elliott decided to go side by side, it was inevitable in the slash chicane. Rather Blaney had to run it wide, Elliott had to do what he did there, or he would have to hit the curb. And in the process of hitting the curb, it would have shot him back to the left, and he would have probably clipped Ryan Blaney or door slammed Ryan Blaney in the process. So once we're at this point, once we're Elliott and Blaney are side by side going into this final chicane, I think that they were both kind of screwed at that point. At least Blaney was screwed by that point. Now, as for Ryan Blaney's point of view, his perspective, it's you shouldn't be happy at all. If you're a Ryan Blaney fan, you shouldn't be happy. Obviously it's just the Busch Clash. This isn't like the points race in 2 weeks, so it's not the end of the world. But I think you're allowed to be mad about it. Your driver, if you're Ryan Blaney, you've got the lead. You give him what you think is the preferred line there, and you're going to have the preferred line going out. You think you're going to race side by side clean, maybe hit doors a couple times going down that final stretch in that drag race, maybe something like that. And then, you don't, because you get turned. You just get straight up dumped and turned. So I think that Blaney has every right to be mad. There's no question about that. He got turned. He got dumped. That's kind of where I am right now. Was it a completely dirty move? Not really, because, it's just that portion of the track is very difficult to maneuver, I feel like, especially when you're side by side. But usually it's you let them go, or, someone lets off because you don't want to wreck for 10th place or something. But this is for the win, so it's a different situation on the last corner, on the last lap. So it's much different from that perspective. But once again, I don't think it was an extremely dirty move. He didn't intentionally wreck him. But Elliott is at fault, I would say. Just in terms of, if you do want to put fault on someone. I think it was being aggressive for the win. I like seeing guys be aggressive for a win. And I shout out to Chase Elliott for doing that. Some guys these days would just let the dude win. But, shout out to Chase Elliott for actually racing for the win, actually trying to do something. But if he could have done something different, that would have been great. But once again, in my opinion, I think it was inevitable. I think that something would have happened once they got side by side going into that chicane. They were both kind of screwed because it's such a hard turn. And, Blaney, unfortunately, got turned in the process. I think Blaney has every right to be mad. He was leading. He gave the guy the line. He gave him enough space to go onto his inside, and he got dumped in the process. He was leading, and he got dumped in the last corner for the win. And then the guy who dumped him didn't win. And, I think that's the most frustrating part for Ryan Blaney and his fan base and his team, is that, the dude who dumped him didn't even win the race. And I think Elliott said something like that too. He said that was the worst part, that, yeah, I dumped him, I was going for the win, but the worst part is that he didn't win. So yeah, I think once again, from that perspective, I think that the fact that neither of them won makes it even worse for Chase Elliott. But I do think that it was kind of, you were kind of screwed no matter what. Once they went in there side by side, there just wasn't enough room for that to work. The curbs just are too big for anything like that to happen. That's not criticism. That's just, you saw some of these guys hit the curb. You saw Logano hit the curb early in the race. He flew. He literally caught air. And, if you hit those curbs, it affects your car. It sends your car in the other way. And I think that even if Ryan Blaney gave him that room, if Chase Elliott took that extra room to hit the curb, I think it would have shot him, somewhat over the curb, and I think he would have still hit Blaney in some way, shape, or form, whether it was a door slam, whether it was the same thing but maybe a couple yards ahead. I think it was inevitable. I think it was going to happen no matter what. But if we are going to put someone at fault, technically, I guess it's Chase Elliott's fault. I think it was just an aggressive racing move for the win. There was nothing too dirty about it. There was nothing, obviously you don't want to wreck anyone. I guess that was bad. That was bad, obviously. But, it was not malicious. It was not like oh, look, I'm side by side and I want to win. Just like, turn left on him on a straightaway. They were in the middle of a turn, they were going back to a quick straight, then another turn. It was a tricky part of the track, so it's not like they were going down the back stretch and Elliott hooked a left on him like Kyle Busch did at Darlington. It wasn't anything like that. So, in conclusion, where do I stand on this? I think it was a racing move for the win. I don't think there was anything hostile about it. I don't think there was anything intentional about it, but I think that was Chase Elliott's fault because, he did straight up wreck him. He had plenty of room on the inside, but I also think that wreck was going to happen no matter what. You know, even though Elliott had all that inside, I think Elliott, if he had to hit those curbs, it would have affected his car so much that he would have still hit Blaney in the process, or he would have forced Blaney wide or something. I think that someone was going to get screwed out of it at that point, and they ended up both screwing themselves out of it, or I should say Elliott screwed them both out of it. And Kyle Busch was the happiest out of all of them. This guy right here was the happiest out of all of them, and this guy right here was one of the sadder ones. So, yep, that's where I stand on this. That's all I got for today. Let me know where do you stand on this? Whose fault do you think it was? Do you think Blaney didn't give him enough room? Do you think Elliott did something on purpose? Do you think that was a dirty move? Do you think that maybe if Elliott used the curb that could have been avoided? And just tell me what you think in the comments, basically. Thank you for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully we don't have to do too many of these this season. I think we did like 7 or 8 last season, and 3 or 4 of them were in the span of a month. So hopefully we don't have to do anything insane like that this year. Obviously, it's really fun to talk about controversy on the racetrack, but, you know, sometimes, you know, fans get a little too into it. They get a little too aggressive towards each other. They're like, oh, your driver's terrible. That means you're terrible, that kind of thing. Guys, it's just NASCAR. If you're a fan of NASCAR, it's just NASCAR. No need to lose your mind and attack people personally over it, okay? You can go over to their fans. If you see a Chase Elliott fan, you can tell them, oh, Chase Elliott sucks, and, you know, okay, you know, that's not too crazy. But if you're like, oh, Chase Elliott sucks, which means you suck, calm down, okay? All right, some people need to calm down. I feel like I say this every time I make one of these videos, but just because your driver made a dumb move doesn't mean that they're dumb. The fan of the driver is dumb, okay? Now, just remember that, all right? Just everyone take a deep breath, calm down. It's going to be fine. It's not the end of the world. This was a preseason race. If this happened in the Daytona 500, maybe, you know, people would be a little more upset, but that's not the point of this video. We're going to end it there. Thanks for watching. I hope you had a great rest of your day.